the most hyped movie of the year while also being the most possibly controversial film of the year. That's right, we're talking about the Michael biopic film that just released. Hello, I'm Ant, and if you guys are new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, that bell icon to be notified whenever I upload movie reviews. I'm not super nitpicky, I'm more of a casual fan. I'm not gonna go into the film methods and nitpick things that don't have any bearing on the story at all. I'm not one of those, YouTubers who are gonna deep dive into, oh, this unconsequential thing really just bothered me, but it had no bearing. I'm not that. I'm a casual fan like most of you, and that's what I do here. But that's enough about me. Let's get into the Michael biopic. My expectations going in. I don't really know if I had any expectations going in. I'm not a huge Michael Jackson fan. Not saying that I'm not a Michael Jackson fan, because I do enjoy his music, but I'm not a super fan. I could tell there were a lot of people in my theater who have been listening to Michael Jackson for years and years and years. And this is what this film is for those people. But that's not me. So I didn't really have a lot of expectations going in. While also I really wasn't sure how I went in with an open mind for sure, because especially now that it's been a couple days that it's been out, that's pretty much all that's being talked about is this film. And with that being said, I do have some agreeing things with some of the stuff that's being said, and I do have some disagreeing things with some of the stuff that's being said. And we're going to talk about all that. But yeah, I don't really know if I had any expectations going in. I kind of just went in with an open mind with very clear thoughts. And I think that's how you should always go into a film. So I really don't know if I came in with expectations, but I mean, it pretty much met my no expectations. Not saying that it's a bad thing. It's a good thing because it left me feeling a type of way, and we're going to describe that type of way that I felt. If you guys don't know what Michael is about, well, you guys are in for a treat. It is the Michael Jackson biopic. If you don't know who Michael Jackson is, gosh, I don't have the time to explain everything about Michael Jackson to you. But yeah, so it's a biopic about Michael Jackson's life, starting out as Jackson 5, going into his own career as Michael Jackson, becoming the king of pop, the king of rock. Which one is it? I forget. But yes, that is what this film is about, and we do get a very in-depth look into Michael's life. So let's talk about who this movie is for. Obviously, I already said this movie is for the people who have been listening to Michael Jackson for years, was alive and young and listening to him when Michael was also alive making music. The people that were there through his career. I don't know when he died, but I didn't grow up with Michael Jackson as an artist really. So this movie really isn't for me, but I can appreciate the music. I like the music. I can appreciate the story and things like that. So, but this movie is for the people older than me that have, enjoyed Michael Jackson's music for years and years and was there during his career, his ups and his downs. So let's get into some of the pros of this film. Let's start with Michael is a phenomenal film. I really did enjoy this film. With that being said, there are some pros and there are some cons that we will get into. But the pros, the visuals look great. Now, when we get into the cons, we'll talk about the CGI monkey in the film. But for the most part, the visuals look cool. The music is great, obviously. And the acting is pretty solid acting from everybody across the board, which is great, which is what you want to see. But let's talk about the cons. Like I said, CGI, the Bubbles the monkey. There are scenes where Bubbles the monkey looks good. There are scenes where Bubbles the monkey looks terrible. And it's not a huge thing. Like I just said, I explained to all the new people. I'm not super nitpicky, so that doesn't really bother me. It has no bearing on the story. It's just something I noticed. With that being said as well, the story itself is lacking in a lot of departments. It is. We do get a lot of moments of Michael's life, going from Jackson 5 to being Michael Jackson as an artist himself. But there are a lot of things in the film where, like I said, as someone who didn't grow up during that time and understanding the ups, the downs, all the news coverage and things like that, for me personally, there were a couple things where I was confused, where I was okay, now I'm going to have to look into this and figure out what they're talking about. They do talk about a lot of stuff in this film, and they just quickly mention something without any context, and you're like, okay, what is that? So that kind of threw me off a little bit, and they do dance around a lot of the other stuff that you, coming in, you were expecting to see the allegations and things like that. They do dance around that because it's not really prevalent in this film, at least, because it's very early Michael Jackson career. But they do kind of dance around some of the other subjects as well. So, I mean, the story is lacking in a lot of departments. Like I was talking about, it briefly mentions something with no context. Like let's talk about one thing that I noticed is at the beginning of the story, they talk about Jermaine Jackson remaining with the old label or whatever. As someone who didn't grow up during that time or knowing anything about that, I didn't understand like why he had left. They don't really talk about it, and it's not a huge part of the story. Like they just briefly mention it, so it's not a big deal. But there are a lot of bigger moments in this film that they do briefly mention like that. That I'm like, I gotta go home and find out why this is. While also talking about the story, we're gonna talk about the pacing. I do feel like the pacing was quite fast towards the beginning. And then towards like the middle and end of the film, we like kind of started fleshing out some of the more important aspects. Like I do understand During a Kid as being Jackson 5, like a lot of that isn't as important as being, you know, Michael Jackson. But like literally during the beginning of the scene, the pacing is just so fast. I was like trying to process information before we even moved on. Like it was like whatever the year that started, year, and then like year, and then it like sprawled out, which is fine. But a lot of the time, too, I'm like, okay, I just need to process some of this information before we just, like, quickly move on to the next topic. And there are, like, little breadcrumbs in each of these, like, quick moments that, like, add to the story coming up. But, like, it's just so quick before they get their footing and get the pacing that works. So let's talk about, did the cast have fun? I genuinely think the cast had a blast doing this film. Like, you could just see, like, the energy of the people in this film just are having a blast with it. Especially, I forgot his name, but it's Michael Jackson's, I believe it's his nephew, who's playing Michael Jackson. And you can just tell he likes being that. He likes being able to embody his, if I'm correct, uncle, and being able to embody that. So I think they did get a lot of fun because to a lot of people in this film is very important to them. And you could just see that bleed through onto the film, how much fun they are having. So let's talk about the standout moment of the film. Now, this is going to be a spoiler, so if you guys haven't seen the film, check out now. This is like a major moment of this film. So, like I said, if you haven't seen it and you don't want to know spoilers, step out. I'll give you a few seconds. But the standout moment of the film is going to be quite spoilery. That's plenty of time, guys. You also got time to pause and stuff like that or whatever during I'm talking or whatever. Standout moment of this film. Now, if you guys are new, standout moment is the moment of the film that you know is going to take the story a little bit further and make it just like a big bang boom type of moment. But this is going to be the interesting part about this moment, this standout moment of this film. It is a standout moment that you know is going to take the story to a whole bigger light. But the twist for this standout moment is it's like one of the final scenes. So you don't get that. And we'll describe how I feel about the movie as a whole in a minute. But the standout moment of this film is when they are performing on their victory tour with Jackson 5. When Michael is there, he's singing or whatever. He tells people to turn the music down. And the father, Joseph, is explaining how they're going to go on a world tour. You know, they're going to hit all the continents. They're going to hit all the countries. They're going to be touring forever. And around like 10 minutes later, Michael comes out and says, this is going to be our last tour. This is our final tour, our celebratory tour. And you just know like that is going to take the story to a whole bigger light. But the problem is that's one of the final scenes because the movie abruptly ends. And I think that moves us into our next topic, which is a little bit newer to my movie reviews, but I want to do like a more of a deep dive into this film and talk about like raw opinions as well. So let's get into the raw opinions of this film. So because I quickly just touch on pros and cons and I don't get to touch on like raw opinions, I feel like this is a movie I have to give like full-fledged thoughts in. So I am going to do that right here. So if you guys don't want to hear my thoughts personally, you guys can move on. But these are just my thoughts about the film in general. Let's start out with, like I said earlier, they touch on brief moments in the film. Now, this is only like about half or like not even half, like the beginning of Michael Jackson's life, where he starts to slowly become, you know, the biggest pop star, rock star in history. And, you know, it's a great film, but then out of nowhere, like, you're finally like, okay, he's getting his bearings, he's becoming Michael Jackson, he's about to become bigger than he already has become, and then the movie ends and goes, his story continues. So you will leave this film feeling unfulfilled. I did. I feel like as soon as you decided to, you know, something big was gonna come from this, and then the film ends. Now, I'm not saying like this is a cash grab, but I definitely like, I feel cheated coming to this film because you're thinking you're gonna get a lot more, and then the film just abruptly ends with his story continues, which kind of teases like another film. So like, I understand like there were some like lawsuit things about they touched on one of the allegations in the film, and they had to do a bunch of reshoots and stuff like that. So I know that the film itself is very different, but cutting his film and being like, okay, his story continues, I feel like was a mistake. I don't think people would care to come in and watch, you know, if it's super long, but getting the whole story, 3-4 hour film. Like, yes, people are gonna be like, oh man, 3-4 hours. But if they do it well, it will move nice and pace great, which I feel like that's what this is missing because it just abruptly ends. But like I said, this is only the beginning of Michael's life. So like I said, another issue that I had is they dance around like certain topics. They very briefly mention things with no context. You don't get any of the allegation stuff like this. And then just like, there's a lot of missing elements to this film that really, really feel flawed. Along with, I know, like, to me, like I said, some of the bigger songs that I know personally are in this film. There were some songs that I didn't know in this film. But as someone who grew up with Michael, I saw a lot of people complaining that some of his best songs aren't in this film, which those could be the music that is included in the second film. But like I said, you feel cheated because you're thinking this movie's about to get bigger, it's about to get better, and then it ends. So there is a lot of missing fulfillment from this film. And it kind of sucks in that way, but it's just something we have to live with. There's nothing we can change about that. And I feel like that's why some people are like, you either love this or you hate this. And I feel like the people on the hate this side of the spectrum, it's just like becoming, that's why, because it just ends. So let's talk about Ant's big 3 questions. Would I recommend it? Would I watch it again? And is it going to be better on streaming or in theaters? Let's start with, would I watch it again? Like I just said, I do feel cheated, but I would absolutely watch this again. Like, I would put myself through that because this is just a fun film. Like, throughout the whole story, you're just having a fun time. You're watching like basically a full-fledged concert, which that was a lot of complaints I saw too, is like, this just feels like a concert movie. Well, it's Michael Jackson's life. His music was like his life. So you kind of came in, I came in expecting to be like a ton of music and being like a concert film. And that, I feel like that is where I got the enjoyment. So I would absolutely watch it again. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. Like, now be aware, like if you don't want to feel cheated towards the end where it just abruptly ends, then be aware. I'm letting you be aware of that now. But if you want to know at least a little bit of Michael Jackson's life, I do recommend it because you get a lot of fun from this film and you just have a good time. You're smiling, you're dancing. Like, I found myself in my seat, like, dancing, enjoying the music, which is amazing. And that's exactly what you want from a film like this. Now, would I recommend it to see it in streaming or in theaters? I definitely recommend you to go see this in theaters. It is an experience, especially with a packed house like I had. I had, every seat was almost filled. And I just, feeling the energy of everybody else around you with this is a good time. Like, this is a movie you should see in theaters. But if you're going to want to wait till the second part is coming out, if they do a second part, hopefully they do, then you can see this in streaming and then maybe go see the second part in theaters, because I feel like they're going to, take those elements that we like and put it in this next film and make it an enjoyable film as well. And based on all of that, the visuals, the music, the being cheated at the end, just, the good time that you have and the bad times that you have, I gave this film a 3.5 stars out of 5, just because you do feel cheated at the end, but the enjoyable moments are so enjoyable. I want to thank you guys all for tuning into my channel and this video today. Like I said, if you're new, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon for all movie reviews, because I go to the movies and see the newest films and put them up. And with that being said, let me know down in the comments if you've seen the Michael movie and if you enjoyed it. I will see you guys in the next movie review on Monday when I see Over My Dead Body. Peace!